What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today we want to talk about Sinbad. Sinbad is the newest Lightbearer hero, and people were pretty hopeful for him because we don't really have too many great Lightbearers. So having a new addition to that team is definitely well appreciated, and it always feels like, honestly, always feels like we don't have a lot of Lightbearer heroes, which is in fact not true. It is one of the more populated factions. Nonetheless, there aren't too many good ones in there, so it still feels empty. Today is also a very special day, one day, 6 hours till Nara raid up ends, and for a lot of people that means to make the decision between Nara and Sinbad or waiting for another hero, and for that we want to clear up the power of Sinbad a little bit. Is he good? Is he bad? Did he find his way into the meta? We already made a live stream, but nonetheless there is enough data, I should say now. Enough testing was done to get a clear determination on whether you want to have him or not. For first of all, let's take a look at his abilities. We are going to do that probably by just putting him into an AFK stage, even though this one is quite competitive. I just want to show you the general ability of him, the general way he works. We are not going to clear the stage, this won't work with this team, but I just want to show you how this works out and what he really does. So starting off, we will do 1 time speed and hope he doesn't die too early. He needs to survive 6 seconds. After 6 seconds he jumps back, marks 2 heroes, one with a green mark, one with this red mark, or can be both. It can be both on the same hero as well. So if it's like a boss situation, it's often both on the same hero. The one with the red mark is the hitter. That is the hero that dealt the most damage. The one with the green mark is the one that received the most damage. After 30 seconds, those marks run out. In this situation, this mark somehow vanished. I have no idea why. And at that point, he is supposed to reassign this mark to the heroes. He's dead though, so we didn't quite get to see it. It's a bit of a disadvantage of this guy. He's a melee hero, and melee heroes, as you know, sometimes tend to suicide a little bit. So in AFK stages that sadly often happens, and after 30 seconds his marks are gone. But this is just so you see the marks, because we want to look at some gameplay from Dream Realm, and it's against Alpha Bear, and sadly you don't get to see the red mark there. So now that Sinbad is dead, this is no longer that interesting for us, so let's go out of here and let's hop into a Dream Realm fight, because I want to explain a little bit more about this hero. So what I did is I tested him today in different setups. We are just going to take a look at one of these fights, this fight here, which was the best one, so let's take a look at that. So watching the replay, we first of all notice he jumps to the back, and during this time, by the way, he's unaffected, and he really jumps to the back. This boss just melee'd, so there was no hero within his range or within 1 tile of him, so he really does jump out of the arena, which is quite interesting. You see the marks there at the top. We can see the green mark. The red one is there, but we just see a faint glow. This sadly happens for Dream Realm bosses. It's a little bit weird. And usually you can also see now he jumped back again just after those marks run out. Those marks are there to determine the role of the enemy and then to give them appropriate debuffs. Debuffs are the main thing of Sinbad. Also, if you take a look at this, when he does his ult, he just attacks super fast, so that is pretty cool. We'll see in a second why that is the case. And those debuffs are supposed to reduce the damage of the hitter, with the guy with the red mark that dealt the most damage, and make the guard more squishy or heal less in some situations. So this is really the idea of this hero. Apply debuffs and also deal a decent amount of damage in certain situations. So this is not bad damage that we have here. It was also, of course, fueled by his positioning, because we had him behind Rainier. He got the teleport, he got the attack boost from that, and he got the attack boost from being positioned behind Rainier, which is from his charms. So that is also something, of course, to keep in mind. In general, heroes that are positioned behind Rainier in this setup do very, very well. We can see some other damage numbers though. For example, here he was positioned on the side as a support. He still dealt 3 billion. This is not super good, but if we compare it to the other heroes in here, it is also not a bad damage number. In general, if you have a hero that you can put in your team and that has a purpose of like providing debuffs, it's nice if he deals some damage as well, of course. And it is honestly quite interesting to see him in the Lightbearer tower, which I sadly can't show today, but you can see it in the live stream that I did about him. And in there, he actually deals some decent damage. Some situations out-damaging Vala, which is, of course, the hero that is like most commonly used in there to deal with the stages. So it's not really that he deals bad damage. We have him, of course, at Supreme Plus. Got ourselves the nice head as well, which is gone, so I have it. Nice. Nearly forgot that with Nara, by the way. Interesting. And he has like 2 key abilities. The first thing that I definitely saved in my mind is the ult. Sinbad's skill also deals normal attack damage, and his casting speed is affected by both his attack speed and haste. And then active Sinbad lands as many hits as possible on the enemy over the next 3 seconds. So he can deal basically an infinite amount of damage or infinite amount of hits within 3 seconds, as long as you have enough attack and haste. But the thing is, of course, you only does it within 3 seconds. This rate is determined by the attack speed, and it usually ends up being decent damage. But the reason I saved this is because we have like this attack scaling right now, and I thought maybe we get like a boss that scales haste or something a lot. And for that, it's of course good to not have limited hits. Most heroes have like, okay, he hits 4 times or something, and then it's done. And just deals those 4 hits quicker. He can deal more than 4 hits, so that's pretty cool. And then we get to the big one, Tracker's Instinct. That is the one we saw. That is the one with the marks. And we can see the debuffs for the respective heroes. Hitter's attack gets reduced, guard's damage taken gets heightened. And this is later increased to, or he reduces the hitter's attack by 60%, increases guard's damage taken by 40%. And if we take a quick jump into his Mythic Plus, into his weapon, the plus 10 and the plus 15 further enhanced this. Plus 10 is further reduction by 20% and more damage taken heightened by 10%. And then we have it increased of plus 15 to 30 and to 15. So we can reduce the attack by quite a lot and increase the damage taken by quite a lot. Which now makes you think, hey, that's great against bosses. It really isn't, because the debuffs are reduced to 20% of the original effect when used against bosses. So in that regard, sadly, the Rainier and even the Thorin debuffs seem to be stronger in that case. And I noticed in quite some weird fights that it also didn't work too well in PvP. But that's a topic we'll cover in a second after covering the rest of his skills. General damage, some attack speed is nice for the ult. And then we have his Mythic Plus. His Mythic Plus gives us further effects for the hitter and the guard, making this hero ever more complicated. Depending on whether they deal more skill damage or normal attack damage, they get debuffs and or the attack speed reduced or energy recovery reduced. And for the guard, if they heal allies or heal themselves is the question. And then they reduce either vitality or fist death and magic death. Fist death and magic death reduction is of course very, very nice. I haven't really seen what happens if they heal neither. No idea. It's a bit hard to see in his fight. So Mythic Plus is pretty good. I recommend plus 10. You can go to plus 15 if you really like him, but really mechanically nothing changes after you reach plus 10. It's only that you get more damage taken, more attack reduction, of course. And the last one is more damage. So the thing about PvP and him, and that is really the problem, and we should probably show that on the skills, it takes 6 seconds before he even starts assessing the enemies. And it's 6 seconds into the battle. And that sucks. Like, it's so bad. 6 seconds into the battle, you took so much damage already. And only then the enemies get debuffs. So you really need a long fight to get something out of it. And then I had some fights where I fought like a Lily May. And I remember that Lily May had that bloody hitter debuff on her, which means she got her attack reduced by a ton, and she absolutely destroyed me. It felt like there was no debuff at all on her. I don't know if that's a bug or something, but at least I can say that this didn't save me at all. And I would have loved it if it was like, okay, if you have this debuff, you are seriously in trouble. If you have this debuff and your attack is reduced by a ton, you really hit like nothing. It shouldn't deal too much damage, but it felt like she didn't reduce the attack or he didn't reduce her attack at all. And in some situations that is like really weird. We can compare the damage here. boss deal 2.8 here, and in this situation where we had Sinbad, he did 3.6. So, like, the thing is, I don't know, can do another fight and quickly hop to the end. Maybe it was just a fluke, but yeah, let's just keep it like that and then jump to the end. Okay, notice mid-fight that we didn't have the melee stuff, so right now we of course dealt way higher damage. Yeah, there was nobody close to the boss, so that wasn't too smart. But honestly, it doesn't hit too hard with this active. We will have to do another fight though, because that was a little bit not that smart. Okay, and without the melee attack, we're back to 2.8. So, like, I would have expected that if you get those debuffs on a boss or something, you see some real results and see some really lower damage, but really you don't. And also, like, the damage this boss deals with his melee attack, I really remembered that to be higher. So maybe something to take away from this video as well. So, like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say he's great. I really don't think he is. I think he's alright if we take another thing into perspective, which is like his placement in the Lightbearer file of heroes. That becomes quite interesting because, of course, he's in A tier and there aren't too many good ones. Like, during my first testing, I said he's probably the second best Lightbearer hero. And now with all of his meta testing being in place, I would say, okay, he's competing with Merrily for second place. That is really the thing. Corrin, this meta, of course, is super great. We saw many great results with Corrin. But really, if you put place to Sinbad or Merrily, depends a little bit on what you see. I would say Sinbad has more future in the game. Merrily is a bit outscared by Lily May right now and even fell back to Corrin. But Merrily made her way into the Lightbearer team. Sinbad was weaker than her there. So there is an argument to be made that Merrily is stronger. Still, at the same time, I would say if we get some other heroes that support debuffs or can do something with debuffs, then we will see Sinbad coming back. And then that is also the reason, of course, he's then more interesting. But we should also add, there aren't too many good ones in here, so it really wasn't that tough of a competition to get past Waylon or Lucius or Walker. Like, yeah, okay, there aren't really exactly good heroes. So if you were in the faction like Wilder, that would look very much so different, and he would probably be place 5 or something. So, or place 6 maybe. So that is another thing to see in that regard to the power. Should you summon him? Nah. No, honestly not. Not really. He's not very interesting. If you have the 40 raid up tickets for his raid up, get yourself a copy, that is alright. And probably good enough, really. I get the debuffs from that. Should you summon Nara while we're talking about this? Honestly, also not really, but you can. It's alright. I think there will be another good S tier this season. You can swap her for that. It's probably good if you summon her. It's decent. At least get one copy, because people use one copy for like the AFK stages. So getting one copy of Nara is definitely worth it before she goes away. But yeah, so definitely no recommendation on Sinbad, despite him not being a bad hero. And as we are already towards the end of the video, I can up the cringe level. The question was Sinbad or Sin good, and I have to say Sin mediocre. So it's like, yeah, not really great, not really bad. Somewhere in the middle. And thereby probably not good enough to make it towards your account. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, then please leave a subscription to my channel. Would make me very happy. And other than that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.